What if a museum could be something more than just a really quiet hall of paintings? What if it could actually be like a pharmacy for your soul? Well, we're going to explore that exact idea, and we'll do it through the incredible story of one young girl. All right, so our story actually starts inside a novel. It's called Mona's Eyes by Thomas Schlesser, and it's all about this 10-year-old girl, Mona, who is up against a truly terrifying deadline. I mean, can you even imagine that feeling? One minute you're just a kid looking at your notebook, and the next, your own body is plunging you into darkness. That's Mona's reality. It's like this internal eclipse that threatens to just cut her off from everything she knows. So, yeah, that's the diagnosis. It's the central crisis of her entire life. And the doctors? They have no idea why it's happening, or even if it's permanent. All they know for sure is that she has this very, very small window of sight left. But her grandfather, Henry, he comes up with a plan. And it's not medical, it's artistic. He basically says, forget the psychiatrist. Instead, every single Wednesday for a whole year, they're going to a museum. And they're only going to look at one single masterpiece. What's the goal? To fill her mind with so much beauty that she'll have this reservoir to draw from if or when the darkness becomes permanent. So, is this just a really heartwarming story, a beautiful piece of fiction? Or does Henry's kind of crazy therapy plan actually tap into something bigger, a really fundamental shift in how we think about the purpose of art itself? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Because you see, the kind of museum that Mona and her grandfather are going to, it's actually a pretty new invention. Yeah. For most of history, museums were for something totally different. For a long, long time, museums were having a bit of an identity crisis. You can see it here on the timeline. They started out back in the 18th century as these places for, top-down instruction. We talk, you listen. But then, the social turmoil of the 1960s really forced them to rethink everything. And by the 1980s, after a whole lot of change, this new idea popped up that would honestly change the entire game. And that idea was mediation. Yeah, for centuries, that was the model. The museum was basically a temple. The guide was like a high priest, just delivering these unquestionable truths about the art to a very small, very elite, educated crowd. The whole point was about knowing facts, not about feeling anything. But then a revolution happened. It was a quiet one, for sure, but it completely flipped the script. All of a sudden, the focus wasn't just on the object hanging on the wall, it was on the person standing right in front of it. And this comparison really nails the difference. The old guided tour, that was a one-way street, a lecture. The guide talks, you listen. Simple. But this new model, mediation, it's a conversation. The whole focus shifts from what is this art to what does this art do to you? What does it mean to you? And this is the crucial part right here. Mediation completely flips the script. You, the visitor, you're not just some empty cup waiting to be filled with facts anymore. No. Your feelings, your participation, you become the main event. The art, it's just the spark, the catalyst for your own journey of connection and discovery. And this is what that actually looks like. It's not just about passively looking anymore. It's about doing. It's about getting your hands dirty, creating something, actually participating. The museum transforms from a gallery into, like, a workshop for your imagination. Okay, so this whole idea of participation and feeling, it brings us right back to Mona's grandfather and his, let's be honest, pretty radical plan. But was he just winging it? Or is there actual, real science behind this idea of using a museum as therapy? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Get this. A recent study from King's College London found that just viewing art in a gallery dropped people's levels of cortisol, that's the main stress hormone, by 22%. That's not just a feeling, that is a measurable physical change in your body. And a neurologist named Pierre Lamarcus explains exactly why. He says when we look at a piece of art that we really appreciate, our brain just unleashes this cocktail of beneficial chemicals. We're talking serotonin, the happiness hormone, dopamine for vitality, even our body's own natural morphine to soothe anxiety. It is literally a prescription for feeling better. Museums are totally leaning into this. Today you can find actual, formal museum therapy programs. There are slow art days that encourage you to just sit and contemplate. There are even tours under hypnosis. And of course, specially designed tours for the visually impaired. All of these things are basically formalizing the exact kind of personal healing journey that Mona's grandfather made up for her. So what we're really seeing here is a complete reimagining of what a museum is even for. It's shifting from this idea of a dusty old archive full of objects to a dynamic, living space for human experience. I mean, check this out. This was a project at the Musée d'Art Moderne in Paris. You see that display case? It wasn't filled by curators. It was filled by visitors. Regular people brought in their own ceramic objects, and they became part of the exhibition. The visitor isn't just a viewer anymore. They're a contributor, a co-creator. And really, that's the big takeaway here. The museum has evolved. It's not just one thing anymore. It can be a forum, a laboratory, a sanctuary. It's a place where you can connect with art, sure, but also with history, with other people, and maybe most importantly, with yourself. So it really seems like Mona's grandfather was way ahead of his time, doesn't it? He saw the museum not as a place for lectures, but as a pharmacy for the soul. So maybe the next time you walk into one, the question to ask isn't just, what am I going to see, but what do I need? What's your prescription going to be?